Hey everyone, welcoming you all. So today we are going to understand some of the important MCQs relating to the Indian constitutional law. So whenever we study, it is very much important for us to revise whatever we have studied in order to remember the thing bit by bit. So today in this video, I have prepared some of the MCQs which have the probability to come into various competitive exams. So we will learn one by one and we will try to explain the answers as well. So here comes the very first question of the MCQ. So in case you want to test your memory, you can just pause the video and write the answer by your own. And after answering all of them, you can see whether you have answered most of them or not. So let's come to the question number 1. So it says which landmark case is credited with establishing the basic structure doctrine in Indian constitutional law. So in my video in the basic structure theory, I have given a detailed explanation what basic structure theory is and what are the case law that we can remember it on a serial manner. So here I have written some of the options as well. So the answer I have already given in my dad video, but again I'll try to explain it again. So the MCQs and the options are Golaknath versus State of Punjab, Keshavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala, Minerva Mills versus Union of India, and Maneka Gandhi versus Union of India. So there was a statement that I have written, that is, Astu has a girlfriend called Minerva, and on that basis how we can serially remember the case law. So here as stands for Sankari Prasad, 2 for Sajjan Singh, has is just there just to form the sentence. A again there, V for Golaknath, and F for fundamental rights case, and M for Minerva. So these are serially the case law. So here the answer would be Kesavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala, that is also known as fundamental right case. So in this case only this doctrine has been established. So let's come to the second question. It says under Article 12, the term state includes private corporation, non-governmental organizations, local authorities, international organizations. Again, while explaining Article 12, I have said that there are 4 requirements which needs to be there in order to make some organ a state. And there, the options that we got, private corporation wasn't there, so it is eliminated. Non-governmental organization, it is also eliminated. International organization, it is also eliminated. So the answer here would be option C, that is local authorities. So the question we have, Article 13 of the Indian Constitution deals with fundamental rights, executive control of state policy, laws inconsistent with or in derogation of fundamental rights, power of president. So while I have also made a detailed explanation on Article 13. So Article 13 explicitly talks about the laws which will be inconsistent with the fundamental rights will be declared as void. So here the answer would be laws inconsistent with or in derogation of fundamental rights. So this is the correct answer. Next we have which of the following doctrine is primarily related to the partial invalidity of the unconstitutional provisions in a statute. So again I have made detailed explanation on the doctrines. So doctrine of severability is also known as doctrine of severability. Eclipse is to hide and doctrine of waiver is to waive off one's rights. So here the answer would be doctrine of severability. In this doctrine we can separate the part which no longer entertain us in a good manner. So the answer would be option A. The next we have the doctrine of eclipse applies to pre-constitutional laws that violate fundamental rights, post-constitutional law that violate fundamental rights, both pre and post-constitutional laws that deal with taxation. So, doctrine of eclipse basically talks about the pre-constitutional laws, and after the enforcement of the Indian Constitution, those who are, in contrast with fundamental rights, they will be declared as void. So the answer would be here, pre-constitutional laws that violate fundamental rights. Next we have which Supreme Court case clarified the doctrine of severability in Indian constitutional law. So RMDC is something which you need to remember in order to understand the doctrine of severability. So it has the probability to come various questions. So here RMD Chamar Bogla versus Union of India. This is the correct answer here. The doctrine of waiver in constitutional law relates to suspension of fundamental rights during an emergency, voluntary surrender of a constitutional rights, abrogation of laws inconsistent with fundamental rights, amendment of fundamental rights. So doctrine of waiver is where someone has voluntarily waived off their right. So the answer would be here B. The next we have, which provision in the Constitution prohibit discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, and plus obviously it is Article 15 that prohibits any kind of discrimination on any ground. The next we have the basic structure doctrine limits the parliament's power to introduce new fundamental rights, amend fundamental rights, amend the constitution in a way that destroys its core principle, impose precedents rule instead. So the basic structure doctrine basically says that a parliament can amend anything and everything but without causing much harm to the basic structure doctrine. And basic structure doctrine fundamental right is something that falls under the basic structure doctrine. So in indirect manner, the court has said that the parliament can amend the constitution in a way that destroys its core principle. So the question says the basic structure doctrine limits the parliament's power to amend the constitution in a way that destroys its core principle. The next question we have, which case upheld the basic structure doctrine as valid and binding? So the question is Sajjan Singh versus State of Rajasthan, Minerva Mills versus Union of India, Golaknath and Indira Nehru. Again, remember S2 has a girlfriend called Minerva. These statements will help you in solving many of the questions. So the question states, which case upheld the basic structure doctrine as valid and binding? That means the basic structure doctrine is already upheld. So the answer would be something which comes after Kesavananda Bharati case. So here Kesavananda Bharati is fundamental rights case, which is also known as Kesavananda Bharati case. So after this, what we got the last case in there, that is Minerva. So indirectly or directly, the answer would be here Minerva Mills versus Union of India. Which case upheld the basic structure doctrine? It says upheld. It doesn't say in which case the basic structure doctrine was, has its establishment. So sometimes we need to read the question very carefully in order to understand which the question is asking. The next question we have, the supremacy of the constitution as part of the basic structure doctrine was emphasized in which case? So the question here, so the question says, the supremacy of the constitution as part of the basic structure doctrine was emphasized in which case? The options are Woman Rao Maneka Gandhi, Kesavananda Bharati versus A.K. Gopalan versus State of Madras. So the question says, emphasize in which case? The supremacy of the constitution as part of the basic structure emphasized in the case of Kesavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala. So this is the correct answer. Next we have, under Article 12, which of the following is not considered a state? Again I said there were four parts that makes a constitution, or four requirements, that make a state. The options are LIC, Bharat Petroleum Corporation, United Nations Organization and Municipal Corporation. So the question says, under Article 2, which of the following is not considered a state? So there are three parts that is, fall under the requirement of a state and something which we need to eliminate. So the answer would be here United Nations Organization. UNO doesn't have any role in the part of or in the article of 12. So the answer would be United Nations Organization. The next question we have, the doctrine of severability allows courts to strike down an entire law if part of it is unconstitutional, preserve valid portions of a law while removing the unconstitutional parts, suspend the application of fundamental rights, enforce emergency provisions. So the very aim of doctrine of severability is to separate which no longer serves in a good manner. So the answer would be preserve valid portion of a law while removing the unconstitutional part. So this would be the answer here. The next we have, the doctrine of eclipse was first established in which case? The option says Bikaji Naran versus Narayan Thakrat was state of MP, A.K. Gopalan was the state of Madras, Kesavananda is already out. So the doctrine of eclipse was first established in the Vikadi Narayan case. So it is very much important. So eclipse is always related to Vikadi Narayan, and the other one, that is RMDC, that is also important in the case of severability, doctrine of severability. So the next question we have, under the doctrine of waiver in Indian constitutional law, which of the statement is correct? So this is a very crucial and it takes a lot of time in examination hall. So we will try to understand the sentence, then we will remove it one by one. So the question says, under the doctrine of waiver in Indian constitutional law, which of the following statement is correct? So in order to understand the answer, we need to know what doctrine of waiver is in the very first thing itself. The question says, and the option says, fundamental rights can be waived with the consent of the individual. No, fundamental rights cannot be waived at any cost. Next says, fundamental rights can be waived only through a written agreement. No, fundamental written at any cost cannot be waived. Then says, fundamental rights cannot be waived as they are inalienable. So fundamental rights are very much fundamental. They can be voluntarily, you know, given away by the citizen itself. So this would be the answer. The fourth option says, fundamental rights can be waived only with the approval of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has nothing to do with the doctrine of waiver, and it directly says that it cannot be waived off in any manner. So in today's video, we have tried to cover some of the important MCQs which have the probability to come in various exams. So that's all for today. Hope you have understood whatever I have tried to explain. So we'll be seeing you soon in another video. Till then, stay safe, healthy. Bye.